Okay, so I recently switched over from using the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, completely rigged out, as my main camera, and I switched over to the Sony A7 IV, which is what is shooting me right now. So far, it's been a really nice experience. But see, when I was switching over to the Sony system, I wanted to completely invest in the Sony E-mount system. I bought a bunch of Sigma lenses and one native Sony lens, which is what is shooting me right now, right? So to save some money, I decided to go for the Samyang 50mm and 85mm 1.4. These were both less than $1,000 combined, so that saved me a fair bit of money for these lenses since I wasn't going to be using them as my main lenses anyway. And I knew that these were probably going to go on like a secondary Sony body if I did fall in love with the Sony E-mount system, which I think has already happened. I mean, I've barely touched my Blackmagic camera since I switched over to the Sony, which kind of makes me a little sad. But I mean, at the end of the day, as a content creator, we always have to use what makes the job faster, in a sense, right? Anyways, ever since I got the 50 and 85 1.4 from Samyang, I haven't actually used them. And the reason why I have not used them is because on the very first day of setting up this camera and trying to figure it out, I tested these lenses and the autofocus was not on par with like my other Sigma lenses and my one Sony native lens, which is just, I mean, it's to be expected because they are not native Sony lenses, they're third-party lenses, but at the same time, I wasn't expecting the autofocus to be that bad. But then I didn't want to judge them too quickly because I don't want to come out and say something wrong with these lenses without actually testing them properly. So I'm going to put this in my camera bag right now. I'm going to go outside and I'm going to do a proper autofocus test for both of these lenses, and then you guys can tell me what you think about them in the comment section. My hope is that I'm wrong and I didn't just spend almost $800 buying both of these lenses to use with my Sony cameras. They're both full frame lenses, by the way, so they work on pretty much every Sony body, crop sensor or full frame, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to go for them, because most of the tests I saw on YouTube said these lenses were great. So let's go find out by ourselves if the autofocus actually holds up, if my IAF is still going to work, and all the other cool stuff like the eye tracking and everything is going to work on my Sony A7 IV body. So let's take a quick drive to the nearest park. Be right back. So I'm back. I had a fantastic experience actually testing these lenses outside, and I'm glad it's not as bad as I expected, but there are still some quirks that I want to discuss in this video. Now, the main reason why I wanted to do these tests is because most of the people I saw testing this lens before I bought them were mostly using them for photography. And I mean, of course, for taking photos, even manual focus lenses are fine because you get to decide and select the focus points and all of that, and you can carefully take your photos. You have time to do that. But when you're in a run and gun situation shooting videos, you don't really have the luxury of being able to select all these things. And you want to be able to trust your camera and your lenses to do the work, which is what I'm hoping to be able to do with these lenses. Now, while doing this test outside, one of the most obvious things to me was the complete absence of eye autofocus. These lenses do not support any type of eye autofocus. They will detect the face, but they will not detect the eye, which is just disappointing because they are third-party lenses, and the Sigma lenses are also third-party lenses, and all the Sigma lenses I bought completely work with the eye autofocus, be it the 24, the 20, the 35, all of them work. But the Samyang 1.4 primes do not support eye autofocus in video mode for whatever reason. I am, however, glad that the focus hunting and the focusing problems were not as bad as I expected them to be. It actually focused just fine. It was able to maintain focus, and when I walked towards the camera, most of the time it kept me in focus. Probably somewhere between 95 to 99% of the time I was in focus, except for that one time it seemed to hunt a little bit, but that was mostly when I was using the 85 1.4. The 50 1.4 did a fantastic job, which was great. I can can we just admire the depth of field that you get with the 85? You see, the beautiful thing about testing all these lenses outside was that I couldn't actually shoot them wide open at 1.4 because it was completely too bright, even though it was overcast, right? I had to shoot at 2.8 because I didn't have a filter that fit both of these lenses, seeing as they actually have different size filter threads, which is just confusing to me. But at least I was able to test them at 2.8 to get a decent depth of field, and I actually got to experience the autofocus outside. Whether I'm going to be keeping these lenses or completely switching them out for the Sigma hard counterparts, I'm not sure yet. I'm still thinking about it. But when I'm shooting B-roll with this, I'm not sure I really need eye autofocus anyway, so there's hardly any situation where I'll be using this to shoot a talking head, so I think I'm going to be fine. Anyways, that was my quick autofocus test for the Samyang 85 and 51.4 primes for video shooters. If you've been looking for a place to see that video, this is the video you need, so I guess you're welcome. Thank you so much for watching, and I guess I will see you on another video that was shot by Kagan. Peace!